Hello and welcome to Smash Hit Sports. I am your host, Cody. We have an incredible guest on today to break down week 2. The Jordyn at the Sporty Jordy herself. You can find her social media everywhere. She is massive on TikTok, or at least much more massive than I am. She puts out incredible content on there, especially if you're an Eagles fan. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. She's a content analyst for Mojo, which a really cool app. I'm sure we'll talk about it in the show, but Mojo is sweet. I'm a big fan of the app there, as well as a fan of the future Super Bowl champion Eagles. Jordyn, thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you. What an introduction. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Look, we're going to get into the Eagles, and I cannot wait. Is there anything that you're working on right now that you want to plug, just to get it out of the way in the beginning of the show?
Definitely, you already hinted at it, but Mojo, we officially launched the app yesterday, so it's been a crazy weekend, a crazy week, super exciting. Basically, Mojo is the sports stock market, so it gives you the opportunity to invest in your favorite athletes as if they were stocks. Think Robinhood meets DraftKings. If you are 21 years old or over in the state of New Jersey, you are officially able to trade, so you can actually place wagers. Everywhere else, we're working on getting into all states where gambling is legal. We're just going through all the regulations because we are a legalized sports book. But yeah, you can download the app anywhere so you can look at share prices and watch the movement. And yeah, I'm just so excited about it. But our socials for that are at Mojo, MOJO, everywhere. So make sure to definitely check it out and keep updated with us.
Yeah, it looks like a really cool concept. Essentially, like the way I look at it is like trading cards, except you don't have to worry about like whether your card is damaged or not, because it is an online stock. It's a cool, really cool concept. I'm super excited for when it comes to Indiana, but the legal sports betting, gotta love it. But we're going to talk NFL week 2. We're going to look at the best games for week 3. Plus, Jordyn was able to go to the PLL championship, and we got to talk about the Water Dogs, because who doesn't want to talk about the Water Dogs? But going into the first segment, favorite segment of the show, it's Smash Hit Sports. We have to do a little smash or pass.
Let's go.
Jordyn, I have to ask you, Jimmy G is now the 49ers quarterback with Trey Lance out for the year. The 49ers with Jimmy G, are they a smash or a pass going forward?
I'm a hard smash on the 49ers with Jimmy G. And let me make this clear. I think Trey Lance has a lot of good qualities. I don't think there's no part of me that thinks he is a bad quarterback. There's a lot of stuff he has to work on. He still plays very young. Like, there's a lot he needs to improve on. But at the end of the day, I think there is a lot there. We don't know how he's going to come back. This injury is brutal. So there's a lot of big question marks around it. But I want to make that clear that anything I say positive about Jimmy G is not a negative on Trey Lance. But when the 49ers were going to draft Trey Lance and they were jumping up in the draft and kind of just like so quickly out on Jimmy G, I was so confused by it, because this is a quarterback. And also, is Jimmy G the best quarterback in the league? Absolutely not. But does he work in this offense, and does he work on this team? Yes. So I was so confused when they were so quick to trade up in the draft, go get a new quarterback anyway. And then we saw last season how the 49ers won. They beat the Cowboys to move on in the playoffs. And I was sitting there and I was like, there's no chance that they really give up on him after this. Like, you can see how this team, they were 1 game away from the Super Bowl. So I was so confused by the whole thing. And I do see the upside to Trey Lance. I understand the injury concern with Jimmy G, but when he's healthy, this team is really good under him. So I'm a big smash on Jimmy G on the 49ers.
I would argue not only were they 1 game away from the Super Bowl, they were a play away from the Super Bowl. If Jaquiski Tartt doesn't drop that interception, I mean, we're looking at a completely I think the Bengals would then beat the 49ers as a Bengals fan, or at least I like to dream. A guy can dream. Also, my wife was super excited that Jimmy G is back as a starting quarterback in the NFL, because he is very easy on the eyes.
Yeah, he's like handcrafted from God. So
look, there are some things that I just cannot compete with. Speaking of competing, the Titans winning the AFC South. Smash, pass, who wins that division? I have literally no idea.
I am a hard pass on this. I did my division predictions before the NFL season started. That full video is up on my YouTube. And the AFC South I thought it was going to be a really hot take. And then everyone was kind of on board, which is disappointing. I hate when I post something that I think everyone's going to yell at. And then they come back and agree. So I'm like, no, I want it to be right. And then get to enjoy that satisfaction. But no, I actually had the Titans coming in third in this division. I had it Colts, Jags, Titans, Texans. And honestly, now with the way it's looking, I think the Jags have a chance to even sneak out winning this division, which is crazy to think about with how it's just such a big jump. But you said you're a Bengals fan, so you personally know how quickly that jump can be made. So yeah, no, I'm totally not out on the Jags. The Titans, I just think, lost way too many pieces. And especially after that Bills game and then throwing Malik Willis in there, I think that's going to be a major turning point, because I didn't think anything like that would happen till at least closer to the end of the season, week 10 maybe. So for week 2, for them to already be throwing him in there the second Tannehill's having a bad game. I mean, not the second, they waited till the end, but still. I think that's saying a lot. So I think there's going to be a lot of issues in Tennessee. Clearly Tannehill's struggling. This team is struggling. So yeah, I'm definitely out on the Titans this season.
Yeah, I think quickly through 2 games, the Jags have made a lot of media members, and myself included, look really stupid, because we kind of shit on them for the Christian Kirk ad. Oh, they overpaid Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk has, 2-3 touchdowns through 2 games?
Yeah.
That offense looks good. The defense looks good with the pass rush. Trayvon Walker, you're going to draft Trayvon Walker number 1 overall. He's been stellar.
Yes.
No,
and coming from an Eagles fan, you can see all my Eagles gear behind me. I know how much Doug Peterson can make a difference on a team that isn't at its highest level. And that's why I was really happy for him to go there. And I was like, I don't know if he's going to be their long-term solution, but I think he's the perfect coach over the next couple of seasons to kind of bring back that positive energy and kind of start to build a good culture in Jacksonville, which is something they've been missing for a long time. So I'm really excited for them.
I agree with that 100%. 100%. Speaking the vibes, I have a lot of questions about the vibes in Denver, but specifically with Russ. Smash or pass Russell Wilson as a Bronco?
This one I'm really, really torn about. I'm going to go smash Russell Wilson as a Bronco. Just get rid of your head coach. I would have fired him
already.
I would have fired him on the sideline of that first game. I would have been like, you know what? You're done. I just don't understand how you bring Russell Wilson in. You pay him all this money. And I mean, obviously they weren't having the best performance all game, and he's clearly struggling. There's a lot to work on, but it's a new system for him. He's still Russell Wilson. I think after a couple games, I mean, we saw Tom Brady when he first went to the Bucs. Those first 4 games were a little scary, and that's Tom Brady. So if Russell Wilson, if it takes him a minute, I do think the Broncos have a strong roster. I'm just at this point where I really don't trust their head coach. So he's made a lot of questionable decisions, and that I think when you're talking about vibes, going back to the Jags, how we said Doug Peterson is bringing the good vibes in there. I don't feel that in Denver, and that's a big difference maker. So I'm not out on Russell Wilson yet. I don't think he's totally lost it. I still think he has a chance in Denver, but I just don't know if their head coaching situation is going to be the best to make it happen.
Yeah, they're absolutely off to a weird start, but they're still 1-1, which is better than some teams can say. A lot of teams can say. Speaking of teams that are not, football is always we think we know so much. We wait all off season. We look at and we're like, oh, I know exactly how the season's going to go down. You make a million futures bets. And then now we're sitting here. And speaking of teams that are absolutely shell shocked, if you would have told me that the Cincinnati Bengals would start 0-2, I would have laughed in your face. Turns out I'm the one being laughed at. The Bengals the rest of the season. Are we smashing? Are we passing? Jordyn, please do not break my heart here.
I'm going to say smash. I don't think, especially given this division, I think you stand a chance. In the AFC in general, I'm a little nervous. There was one point this offseason where I was like, the Bengals could surprise everyone and run it back for another Super Bowl appearance, or at least an AFC championship game. I don't know if I'm that high on them now after seeing these first 2 games. Joe Burrow just doesn't seem like he has his like confidence and his swag. And I keep like hating on their O-line, but they invested a lot of money into this O-line. So I'm not sure why it still looks as bad as it does. And I don't know. There's just some energy that's off. Starting off the season 0-2 is never great, but I still think they have a chance to make a resurgence, and I could easily still see them being a wild card. I don't want this to break your heart. I had the Ravens winning this division anyway, and the Bengals coming in second. I thought it was going to be like the Bengals and the Ravens fighting for that number 1 spot, and then the Browns and the Steelers kind of seeing who falls in last situation. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm not totally out on them. Also, I need like an in-between smash or pass on this one, because I don't think this season's going to be a complete wash. I just don't think it's going to be as stellar as last year.
I agree. I definitely have 13 sacks through 2 games.
It's awful. And then injury concerns come back. I don't want anything to happen to them.
Well, and the thing too is like some of these sacks, you're like, okay, bad offensive line play, whatever. But there's some of these where like, dude, you got to get rid of the football. Like, you can't hold on to it forever in the NFL. You might have gotten away with it at LSU, but it's just not going to work at this level, especially against Micah Parsons. Good Lord. Yeah. That dude is different, but you're going to be well aware because the Eagles get to play the Cowboys twice. And speaking of the Eagles, you are 2-0. One of the few 2-0 teams in the NFC. There are very few teams that look more polished from start to finish. They look great in week 1. Great in week 2. Jalen Hurts, I saw something come across ESPN today that said Jalen Hurts is an early MVP candidate. And you know what? I don't think they're wrong. Smash or pass, the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, you know I'm going to smash on this one. I just got very, very good vibes on this team coming in to this season. And hey, if they don't go on to win the Super Bowl, if we win the NFC East, if we make a slight playoff run, I'll be really happy just because this team is still so young. But I just love the energy that we're building. I love Nick Sirianni. And I'm someone that wanted to burn Howie Roseman's house down a couple of seasons ago. I was so out on him. I didn't trust him. I was like, what is he doing to this team? I didn't like the decisions he was making, but hey, I have to give credit where credit is due. And I've sincerely apologized to him over the last year since, because I mean, he's made up for all the mistakes he's made. He's been a wizard. I mean, this offseason especially, the way he handled the draft, like everything about this team is going in the right direction, which is all we can really ask for. When the season where we lost Carson Wentz and we didn't know if Jalen Hurts was going to be the future, and there were so many question marks, I was feeling so defeated because I couldn't tell what direction we were going, and I wasn't feeling connected to anything. And then we traded Zach Ertz, and it felt like all my pieces were gone. But I feel like we're cooking up something really special here. I've loved Jalen Hurts for a long time. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks coming out of his draft, and I kept saying, I was like, I want him to go to a great team. And at the time, I just didn't want him to go to my team because I was like, we have Carson Wentz, we're fine. And that was another thing I had to apologize to Howie Roseman for, because I love the direction that we're headed in now. So, he's special. This team feels special. And I just want us to have a really good season. And I'm excited for where we're headed.
The thing that sold me on Jalen Hurts was like back in the Alabama days when like Tua was balling out and Jalen Hurts was the backup, right? Mm-hmm. And like he stuck and like was still incredible in that locker room. Then Tua goes down and Jalen Hurts steps up and performs and stayed ready. That just shows like the kind of player and the kind of preparation that he puts into the game. And then he went to Oklahoma, entirely new system, led that team, dominated there. He's an absolute stud. And it blows my mind where people are like, oh, well, he doesn't look like every other quarterback in the NFL, so I don't think he's going to be successful. Sometimes it's good to be a little different. You know, like not every quarterback needs to be a 6'4" white guy who can't move outside the pocket. Sometimes it's good to be a little different. Josh Allen has showed that. Patrick Mahomes has showed that. Lamar has showed that. Like Jalen Hurts has the tools to be really special in this league. I was high on him coming into the year. I'm even higher on him now. Do you think like there's a legitimate shot for like an MVP standpoint? Like,
I mean, I don't see why not. He's literally making NFL history after this last game. I think if it continues in this trajectory, I don't see why there's any reason he at least shouldn't be in the conversation. I think that's entirely fair. If someone else beats him out for it in the end, that's one thing, as long as it's deserved. But I think after the performances we've seen, there's been a lot of really crappy quarterback play in the first 2 weeks of this NFL season. And Jalen Hurts is definitely not one of them. The Eagles, there were things in week one. We ended up winning and we looked great, but there were a lot of iffy moments too. And I said, I was like, I'm not going to panic. Like, everything that I saw it felt like week one cobwebs, and we just got to shake off and learn from them, which we definitely did in week two. So I like that we're learning from the mistakes that we made. But I mean, he showed that he can put the team on his back. He showed that, his leadership was always there. He showed he can throw. We knew he could move. And I just feel like this team believes in him. Nick Sirianni wears his face on a t-shirt. Like, what more proof do you need that, like, he can be our guy? So I definitely think he deserves to be in MVP conversations. And I like to be realistic. Obviously, if this falls off and this is a high early in the season, I won't carry this out to MVP time. But for right now, looking at the rest of the league, he deserves to be in these talks.
I agree 100%. I love Sirianni. I think he can be kind of corny sometimes, but like he's a guy who loves his players, and I can always get behind that. So Eagles are 2-0. Commanders, Jags, Cardinals, Cowboys coming up next 4 games. Is there a chance that we see the Eagles 6-0?
I think there's definitely a chance. I had this Eagles coming into the season. I said realistically, I was thinking around 11-6. Now with the way we've played the last 2 games, I can easily see 12-5. So I'm really excited for this team. And the Cardinals, the Cowboys always make me nervous. Whenever I go into the season, I always say we're probably going to split with Dallas. Now with Cooper Rush, I don't know. I know this is a sore subject for you. They're coming off of a win with Cooper Rush, so I don't know if that was a fluky situation or if he somehow figured out a way to make this team work. So that game's going to be interesting. Carson Wentz is going to be interesting just because it's Carson Wentz. There's going to be a lot of issues there. And Carson Wentz, he either like steps up and goes out of his way and is amazing, or he fully crumbles. Like, I don't think his mindset's all there. So I have no idea.
The highs are high, the lows are low.
Very. And I learned that the hard way. So so I have no idea what to expect. Those 2 games make me the most nervous. Cardinals, I think Cardinals, I initially had a loss coming into the season. Now I think that could easily be a win. Jags is going to be interesting with Doug Peter. There's just a lot of storylines. But at the end of the day, I would say yes, there's absolutely a chance that we go 6-0. I'll give us 5-1 over the next 6 games. I'll try to be a little humble, slightly. But
for the internet, so they don't roast you online. But I respect.
They'll be like, "Oh, Eagles fans are the worst." I always get it.
Oh, I'm excited for it. We'll clip it. We'll come back to this in 6 weeks, and we'll look at it and be like, "Wow, Jordyn really knows her shit when they go 5-1 or 6-0." Speaking of quarterbacks who had great games, Lamar looked awesome. He's coming into a contract year. I was stunned that the Ravens didn't get a deal done going into the season, honestly.
I know.
Is he going to be the highest paid quarterback this offseason? Because now I don't think there's another option.
Yeah, no. If I'm the Ravens, I don't let him go. You pay him whatever he wants, and you build this team around him, because we've seen what he can do with a broken team, with a team that isn't fully complete. And that team loves him. Like, he belongs there. I think he wants to be there. He has all of the makings to be. He already has won an MVP. I want to see a Super Bowl MVP in his future. He has it all. I've been on the Lamar Jackson train for a very long time. I love him. I remember his MVP season. Every single game, I would just sit and watch him, and I'd be like, this man is not real. Like, the things he is capable of. And we know he can move. We know that's probably the best thing about him, but he can throw, and he knows how to rally that team together. So if I'm the Ravens, like I said, give him whatever he wants and then build this team up around him, and you're putting yourself in a very good position.
Yeah, there's very few guys in today's NFL who you're like, that guy is a video game player. He's an absolute freak. Lamar Jackson is one of them.
Yes.
I don't know. I think the disrespect has gone way too far. They averaged 31 points through the first 2 games. I think they look incredible. Speaking of quarterbacks who've looked great, Tua. Talk about a game. 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Are we a Tua believer?
Oh, I have been. So I want to say this. When the Dolphins had like 4 wins a handful of years ago, I sat there and I was like, there's something about this team I liked. And I was like, you know what? I was like, they'll be like the AFC team that I root for. And obviously the Eagles are always my number one. But for some reason, I always had really good vibes around the Dolphins. And then they drafted Tua and I was like, great. Like they can start to really build this. And there was all this hate around Tua and there was all this injury concern. And obviously last year the Dolphins didn't. I said they were going to be a playoff team last year. They like barely. By this,
so
like,
close.
They were so close. And you saw the change in their season from when Tua came back from injury to prior to that. And it's night and day. Like, this team is different with him. And then all the moves that they made in this offseason to make it better. And everyone's like, well, obviously Tua's doing well. He has great receivers. I'm like, okay, so he's doing exactly what he is getting the job done. What are we so confused about? Like, so I have been defending Tua for a very long time. I love to finally see everyone being like, okay, especially after that comeback, like he has it. He has what it takes. And I fully believe that. The Dolphins, I fully believe, are actually going to be a playoff team this year. I'm really excited to see.
I like that take.
I believe it. I fully believe it. If the Bills weren't in, the Bills are obviously the Bills. And I think realistically, it's going to be, I'm going to say Bills are the best team in the NFL right now. I know the Chiefs are a solid argument, but I just think overall, like the Bills on both sides of the ball, like every aspect, the Bills are just so strong. So I think if the Dolphins were in any other division, they would even have a chance to win their division. The Bills are going to take it, but the Dolphins are going to be good this year.
I agree. I'm super excited. The Tua slander, I hate the argument that, but his wide receivers are good. So look at the other quarterbacks in that class. Like Joe Burrow has T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins has Justin Jefferson, and he threw to Darius Slay all night.
Yeah. So sometimes it's like having a good wide receiver group. It's not a problem. Like it's a good thing. That's what you want for your quarterback.
Exactly.
Last kind of look back on week 2. Brian Daboll looks legit. I hate to make you talk positive about a rival, but damn, he looks like a hell of a hire for that program.
He really does. And I said it coming in to this season. I was like, I'll give the Giants credit. I said I liked all of their hires all around this offseason. I thought they drafted very well, but I've been out on Daniel Jones. I still thought there were such big holes to fill for this team to be a contender or I don't want to say contender because I still don't think they're there yet, but to just be scary or competitive in any way. I was like, they need another year. Like, I didn't think they were there. And I don't know, to start the season off 2-0, it's very impressive. And against team, like even going into week 2, they had an impressive win in week 1. And I guess you can make the argument that Titans would have won if that they made the field goal, but at the end of the day, a win's a win. The Giants were in it until the end. So, and then going up against the Panthers, Baker didn't look good in week 1, but he didn't look awful. And the Panthers have Christian McCaffrey, like they have pieces. So I was like, I'm so surprised that the Giants are favorite. Like, I think the Panthers win this game. And then the Giants just came out and now they're 2-0. So, and I think all the credit, going back to your question, goes to Brian Daboll. So I like to give credit where credit is due. I like the culture he's bringing in for them. I'm not fully nervous about them in the NFC East quite yet, but they look decent. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I don't think Danny Dimes is the guy, but I think Brian Daboll absolutely is.
I agree.
Let's look ahead to week 3. There are some awesome games on the slate. We're going to talk about a not great game, in my opinion, to start the week.
Yeah, this is a tough one for you.
It's not even that, like, as a Bengals fan, like, I still like good football. I just don't think the Mitchell Trubisky, Browns quarterback. Why am I spacing?
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah. I'm not just, that hype doesn't really come for me for this one. Over-under is 38.5. Steelers at Browns. Browns are 4.5-point favorites. How do we feel about this game? Is it just going to stink?
I think it is going to stink. And also because, I don't know, I just feel like these are also two defensive teams that don't have great quarterback situations to begin with. So I think this is going to be a nitty gritty, just like defensive, slow game. I do think it's going to be close though. I'm surprised the Browns are favored by that much. I honestly thought the line would be more at like 2.5, like coin toss kind of vibes. So betting wise, I'd probably take Steelers plus 4.5 in the under. That feels best to me going into this one. But yeah, I'm not expecting too much out of this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers as well. Mike Tomlin is an underdog. Give me that all day. He is such a good coach. I know from experience because he's ruined my Sundays several times over the last decade. But we talked about the Bills and Dolphins earlier. That's going to be one of the marquee games, 2-0 teams going into Sunday. Bills at Dolphins. Bills are 5.5-point favorites. Over-under is 53.5, so they're expecting a barn burner. Yeah. What are we looking for in this game?
I'm honestly, even with this high of total points, I'm still taking the over. We saw what both of these offenses did this week. I mean, the Dolphins-Ravens game was a complete shootout, and Bills threw up 41 on the there should have been a mercy rule in that one. So we know offensively what these two teams are capable of. And you just never know in division games. I think the Bills, it's in Miami. I'm not going to go as bold to say that Dolphins win. I think they have a chance to cover. But I like the over in this. I think this is going to be an intense game, even if it's the Bills putting up 40 of the points themselves, which we know they can do.
I love that. I'll probably take the Bills minus 5.5, but at the end of the day, this should be an electric game. This is one of those games where I'm probably going to be throwing anytime touchdown score props.
Yeah.
Or if
literally just throw like $10 on everyone and you'll probably still make a profit at the end.
Yep. Absolutely love it. Chiefs Colts. I highlighted this one because this is an interesting line to me. The Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites in Indianapolis. The Colts are 0-1-1 through 2 weeks. I expected this line to be bigger.
Yeah, I was going to say Chiefs minus 6.5 feels too easy, which always makes me a little nervous, but I think Chiefs easily win by a touchdown in this one. I'd probably take the under here just because I don't think, the Colts don't look good. And I don't think they're going to be god awful, but the Chiefs look very good. So I think it's going to be like a 21-10 kind of vibe of a game, maybe even slightly more for the Chiefs, but I can't see the total points getting close to 50. But yeah, no, I'm not totally out on the Colts, but I think they're going to be like right around 500, and this is not the game where they get their first win. Who knows, though, with the way the season is going? I can't even predict anything anymore.
At this point, I agree with you. I'm also going to lean the under there. We'll see if the Chiefs can stop Jonathan Taylor, but the Jaguars did it, so who knows? We got to talk about your Eagles, obviously, at the Commanders, 6.5-point favorites. This can't be that easy, right? Carson Wentz revenge game. Carson Wentz is going to try a little too hard, throw a pick 6 or 2. Eagles cover, right?
I'm going to say Eagles easily cover, and this isn't even fully biased. I honestly am more nervous for the second time that we play the Commanders than the first time because, like you said, Carson Wentz is going to be trying very hard, and I think he's going to be very much in his own head. And when he gets like that, mistakes happen. So and we saw, I don't even want to bash Carson Wentz. He's made mistakes. I've still seen typical Carson Wentz mishaps from him, but I have seen some bright moments too. He doesn't look awful. But no, given the way the Eagles looked yesterday against the Vikings, who came out so strong against the Packers in week 1, it seems like we know how to kind of finesse our team to stop whoever we need to stop. And I don't know. Like I said, I think Carson Wentz is going to be his own worst enemy in this one.
I would have to agree with you. I do like the over in this game.
Over 47.5 looks good to me.
I think this Commanders defense stinks. And I think the Eagles defense is good, but I wouldn't be shocked if, Carson Wentz gets 1 or 2 off. That seems to be how his season has gone so far. So 47.5, I like that. I have to talk about the Bengals. To me, This is a make or break game. This is how is your season? Like, are you going to rally? Are you going to make a statement and say, hey, we went to the Super Bowl last year? Or are you going to crumble under pressure? This was a game where the Bengals lost in New York last year. The Mike White game, balled out. I took out a mortgage on the Bengals that week, and now I lost my home.
I'm homeless. I'm living on the side of the street.
Yes, it was a tough week in the Cody household, but Bengals are 4.5-point favorites. Over-under is 45.5. Will I have another miserable Sunday? Yes or no?
I'm going to say the Jets got very lucky this past week. And like you said, I really think it's hard to say a must-win game in week 3, but I really think this is a must-win game for the Bengals. I think if you lose to a Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys and then the New York Jets, at that point, I'd be fully out on them for the rest of the season. Then I would think it's time to hit the panic button. I mean, and the fact it feels sad that the line is only at 4.5, but I guess it's fair given the Bengals' first 2 weeks of this season. But I have to take the Bengals. They need it. They need this win.
I agree, but I'm going to stay away from betting aside for my own mental health.
No, I get that.
Because I can't stand losing money and watching my team lose. That would just be an awful Sunday. I would probably take the over, though. Joe Flacco is third in passing yards through 2 weeks.
Yes, he's thrown like over 100 times.
The fact that his arm is still attached to his shoulder, honestly, is one of the more impressive things from this season so far. Speaking of a quarterback duel, because obviously Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco is the premier quarterback duel of the Sunday slate. But the 4:25 game, we get Packers at Buccaneers. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Everybody and their mother is going to be talking about this game. Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites. They don't have Mike Evans because he's suspended for trying to beat the shit out of Marshawn Lattimore, which seems like it happens every time they play.
Yeah.
What do we think about this game? Is this going to be one of those games that duel between two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, or is this going to be a low-scoring, grinded-out kind of game?
I am kind of on the fence of it being a low-scoring game. And I'm taking the Packers in this one.
Ooh.
I think Packers win straight up. I think for Tom Brady to play. I thought the Bucs were going to lose last week, so maybe I just got to get off the train of betting against the Bucs. We'll see if the Bucs win this week and I take the Packers. Then knowing my luck, once I start betting the Bucs is when they'll start losing.
Then they'll start losing. Yep.
I don't know. Tom Brady had a really tough time playing in New Orleans, so I was like, okay, this is divisional. Saints can win this. Saints looked good. Bucs came out strong, but no, I think with the missing pieces that the Bucs are going to have. Aaron Rodgers looked very good against the Bears, which I think he needed to bounce back. Now it feels like they kind of have this double-headed monster that the Browns have kind of tested out with. I mean, the Browns had it with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Now Packers it feels like they figured out how to work Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So everyone can make fun of the Packers receivers as much as they want. Aaron Rodgers played against the Bears, he's like, I don't care if I win MVP. I just want to win these games. And I think if they keep kind of having that run the ball energy, they can easily make that happen with these two running backs. So I don't know. Bucs have a good defense, but I'm going to take Packers here.
I am also on the Packers. I just think without Chris Godwin, without Mike Evans, without Julio Jones, who is missing practice, we're not sure if he's going to play or not. I mean, you're missing your top 3 pass catchers. You brought in Cole Beasley for this week. If you're bringing in Cole Beasley, that tells me everything I need to know about your offense. Yeah. The only concern I do have is that Bucs run defense is damn good, arguably the best in football. So if Aaron Rodgers can do Aaron Rodgers things, we'll see. Either way, I will be tuned into that game for sure.
Yeah, and under in this one feels. I feel like you have to take the under in this.
I agree 100%. 49ers at Broncos. 49ers -1. This surprised me. It's in Denver. Quarterback goes down. Jimmy G's your starter. The Broncos have not looked good through 2 weeks. They lost to the Seahawks and then beat the Texans, but in an ugly fashion. Over-under is 44.5. I'm hammering the 49ers here. I don't know about you.
I was going to say, I still think I'm on the 49ers in this one, especially because the 49ers know how to play against Russell Wilson. Like, he was in their division for forever. They know how he plays. They know how he works. They're used to going up against him. I know it's on a new team, but this is on a new team that hasn't even figured out themselves yet. And like I said, the 49ers are comfortable with Jimmy G. It's not like they lost their starting quarterback and are kind of scrambling. They kind of fell into what some might say a better situation. And obviously, like I said, nothing against Trey Lance. I'm heartbroken for him that he's dealing with this injury, but I still think the 49ers are going to be in a really good position here.
Yeah, it absolutely sucks. The one thing that does worry me about this is Russell Wilson is 16-4 in his career against the 49ers.
Oh boy.
Which makes me a little nervous, but I do think the 49ers have a better team. Last game on the slate, I'm sure you are just super enthused to watch this one. Cowboys at Giants, Cooper Rush, Daniel Jones. The Giants are 2.5 points.
Two of the best in the business.
I know. This is what, when you talk about high level football, this is what people dream of. Giants are 2.5 point favorites. Over unders 39.5. I like the over.
I like the over. That feels very low. I have no idea not even betting wise, like in my heart of hearts, who I want to win. I never in my life want to root for the Cowboys ever. But do I want the Giants to start the season off 3-0? Absolutely not. So I don't know. Cowboys are coming off a win. Giants are home. I low-key think Giants. I think that's what I'm going to end up going with, but I hate it. So I'll go Giants -2.5 and over.
I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I think Micah Parsons does just some disgusting things to Daniel Jones. I think he ruins his day, his month, his year. We could be talking about Micah Parsons having a career day. And that Cowboys defense, they wreaked havoc on Joe Burrow. If they can do that to Joe Burrow, I think they can do it to Daniel Jones, but we'll see. An awesome slate, though, for week 3. I think there are a lot of really good games.
Definitely.
Super excited. And make sure that if you are interested in any of these players, that you download Mojo if you are in New Jersey, so you can, get some of your guys before their stock prices go up after they have unbelievable weekends. We have to talk about championships, though. And there are some teams that you can just root for. Everybody loves an underdog. Everybody loves the beach and the ocean. You combine them together, you get the water dogs. We got to do a little Premier Lacrosse League talk. Their championship was this Sunday, an electric game, might I add.
My God, it had me biting my fingernails the entire time.
I know, and you got to attend in person, which is awesome. First, I want to start with this. How cool was that atmosphere? Because it looked electric on TV.
It was absolutely amazing. That was my first lacrosse game in person, and I had no idea what to expect. And I walked in. The vibes were so good. You could tell everyone that was there was passionate and happy to be there. I mean, and you could tell there were people who their teams didn't make it and they were still there just to watch it. I mean, you saw all different kinds of jerseys. But no, it was, the stadium was beautiful. I got so lucky because the game was in Pennsylvania, so it was right over the bridge for me. I'm a South Jersey girl. So I was like, no matter who's in it, I'm going to this game. It's too close not to. And then when my water dogs frickin' made it, I was like, you could not write this any better, because I picked the Water Dogs. It was my first year getting super into lacrosse. And I was like, okay, I need a team. So I picked the Water Dogs just because, like you said, very likable team. Michael Sowers is a Pennsylvania guy himself, so I was like, I gotta root for them. Charlie Kitchen on the Water Dogs actually went to my high school. I know him. He was a year younger than me.
Sweet.
Right? So there was just so much there. I was like, I gotta go with the Dogs. They started off the season really slow and then went on this powerhouse winning streak, made the playoffs. They were one of the last seeds in the playoffs, and then just had this unbelievable run, and now they're champions. So it was incredible.
Yeah, started out 0-2, a little slow, but that's one thing that I have loved about Premier Lacrosse League since its inception is it's an any given Saturday, Sunday type of deal where it's not that's the one thing. I love college football, but that's the one thing that gets a little stagnant. It's okay, Ohio State won this week. Okay, Alabama won this week. Okay, Georgia won this week. The one of the great things about lacrosse is any given day you can have either a goalie show up or a defense that looks incredible and you get some incredible results. But you talked about, so you got in, picked a team. How did you get into lacrosse from like from its inception?
Yeah, so I was never, lacrosse, like I said, Charlie Kitchen made it into the PLL. So lacrosse at my high school, lacrosse in my town was always really big. And we went to games and we watched and everything, but it was never my favorite. Like I didn't understand the rules fully. And I actually had one of my friends who worked for the PLL reach out to me and he was like, do you want to start doing PLL betting? Do you want to partner with us for the season? And at first I was like, I don't know if you want me. I was like, I don't know if I know enough. And I started talking with them about it. And then I started researching about the league, and the league itself was just such a cool concept to me. And I was like, all right, so basically for those that don't know, the PLL, they're like basically nomadic. Like it's not like the Water Dogs belong to a city. They all are just teams and then they travel around and they each play in cities and every team plays in the same city every weekend. So it's really cool how they do it. And I was like, this is a brand new concept. And it's still new and fresh. I was like, I really want to get in on this. So I started working with them. And at first, I didn't know how it was going to go. I was a little nervous. I was like, what if I don't like it? What if I don't understand it enough? And I sat down with a lot of my friends that had played lacrosse. And I was like, okay, teach me everything. I was like, I want to know everything. And I started learning the rules. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I started watching. And literally from week one, I was like, okay, I am very glad that I got involved with this because like you already alluded to, the games were so exciting and majority of them are very high scoring and back and forth. And you just, every week it was like anyone can win, like you said. So very early on, I was like, okay, this is definitely something I'm genuinely passionate about. And so I'm very grateful that I got connected with them and it ended up working out the way it did. And I'm definitely going to remain a PLL fan for a very long time.
Yeah, that's one thing that I found super cool about the league is the fact that there's not like, it is not the, New England Water Dogs or the, Indianapolis Redwoods. These are just teams that like you can root for whoever, regardless of where you're at, which is a super, super cool concept. Traveling all over the country to play games is really, really cool. It gives like a kind of like a golf tennis vibe where they have, these opens or whatever at these different locations. So the best of both worlds, to be honest. And so I grew up small town, Indiana, did not have lacrosse. Would watch it whenever it showed up on NBC every now and again, but I didn't really get into it until I went to college. And had a couple buddies of mine who played on the team. So what would you say to somebody who hasn't watched lacrosse before? Why should you get into this sport? Like, what makes it so great?
So, like we already talked about, kind of the exciting back and forth energy of it is fun. It's a very, very fast-paced, aggressive game, which I think is fun. And the way I look at it, it's a mix of soccer, hockey, football. Scoring, throw in basketball in there. It kind of just combines everything. And then you look at the timing of it all because it kind of starts like in the middle of summer and then ends right as football season is starting. So it's that perfect filler too. So if you think like, oh, I'm not that big in lacrosse, I don't understand it yet, sit down. When baseball is the only thing that you have to watch, and some people love baseball. I like watching my team play baseball. It's hard for me to sit and watch a full baseball game when there are no real implications to like my team. So for me, I always kind of felt like there was something missing, and lacrosse filled that void in my life. And betting it, if you're an avid bettor, betting it is so fun. It comes at the perfect time. It's a mixture of everything. Like I said, fast paced, exciting. The guys are all great. The way the PLL, their marketing, their social media, there's just such good positive vibes around all of it. So, I got a lot of my friends into it this season because they were like, at first they were like, okay, you're partnered with the PLL. You're only watching lacrosse because it's your job. And then they saw my post and they saw me getting super into it. And they were like, you genuinely love this. And I was like, I really do. So I got a bunch of other people into it. I say, like I said, comes at the perfect time and it's a combination of everything.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts about it is it starts like right as the NBA finals are starting to end and the NHL playoffs are starting to come to a close. Like it's that beautiful transition. Like I like baseball. Don't get me wrong. I like betting on baseball, but like I love betting over 7.5 runs. Like that's not enough electricity for me. You sit down at baseball games like 4 hours. Lacrosse games are quick. They're electric. They're exciting. You get a ton of scoring. I can't wait. I think this year is, so I've just casually watched as like a fan of the sport. We'll have you back on before PLL starts this summer.
Go.
We will pick my team together. We'll figure it out. I am super excited for it coming back, but just absolutely electric. Jordyn, thank you so much for coming on. Again, you can follow Jordyn at TheSportyJordy everywhere on the internet. Make sure you follow her YouTube channel. It is absolutely incredible content. Must watch, an absolute subscribe. Especially and TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everything. Download the Mojo app if you're in New Jersey. What did I miss? Did I miss any promo?
No, you checked all boxes. That was pretty impressive. Thank you.
Let's go. Sometime this brain does actually work after the 9 to 5. You love to see it. Jordyn, thank you so much again for coming on. And for those of you listening to this point, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you are, whether it's Spotify or YouTube. And if there is something you want me to talk about, a guest you want me to have on, tweet at me at Smash Hits Sports on Twitter. You can DM me on Instagram, TikTok, wherever. I will answer. I appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one.